freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your mega preview pod for this week's PGA Championship. That's storylines. It is best bets. It is a brand new one and done. Joining me to break it all down, Patrick McDonald is here. Patrick.
What's going on, gang? Major number 2, Glory's last shot. RIP to that slogan, one of the all-time greats. Excited to get into it. Excited to see who will win the Wanamaker Trophy.
The Wanamaker Trophy, something that will make a moment more. And this episode of the First Cut is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. I saw not only the Wanamaker, I saw the Stanley Cup. I saw the, Larry O'Brien Trophy, the NBA Trophy. Yeah. On one table today, Greg DuCharme is here. All three, I cannot imagine the value of that table.
Oh, that's sweet. The Stanley Cup is sweet. I hope you didn't touch it. Well, if unless you don't care if you ever win it.
I don't think I'll ever win it. So I think if they allowed me, I would happily touch it.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, you could probably kiss the thing. The Wanamaker Trophy is awesome. I think it's one of the best trophies in golf. It's enormous. And I think that's so cool. Major should have a really big trophy. And that's what we get. That's what we're playing for here at the PGA this week.
Patrick, is the Stanley Cup, is that the that's like the archetype of a great trophy, right? Is that the greatest trophy, the Stanley Cup?
That is the best trophy in all of sports, 100%. I would put the Wanamaker 2 in golf. Trophy. Green jacket doesn't count as a trophy.
Not a trophy.
Yes.
What's number 1?
Claret jug.
Oh,
easily.
Okay. No objections there. The other thing is, it's not only the actual shape, size, weight of the trophy, but it's what they do with it. They skate it around. The captain picks who they're going to give it to first. Then everybody gets to take it to wherever they want for a day or two, whatever that ends up being in the off season. So it's a cool thing.
They've had a couple of cool slogans with it. One, the most coveted prize in all of sports. I don't know if they still say that. That's the one I grew up with. The Stanley Cup, the most coveted prize in all of sports. The other one I love is because it's the cup.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cup.
You do anything and you just say, because it's the cup.
Because it's the cup.
Yeah.
Because it's the Wanamaker. That's what we'll be playing for this week, and we're doing it at Valhalla. I'm here, boys. I walked front 9, and 16, 17, 18 is what I saw today. It was rainy, and it was on and off all day. They did pull the players off for about an hour at one point, and I'll tell you what, Greg, you wouldn't know it rained because this place drains perfectly. You're not getting the run. You're not getting like firm, fast conditions, anything like that. But it drains like a beast. It's a champ.
Yeah, that'll be very helpful because there may be some rain coming in and out throughout the week, and having a golf course that drains just makes it that much more playable when you do get in those situations and you're trying to cram a lot of golf into one day. That's what this test is setting up to be with that weather report, especially. So there may be some long days like we saw at the Masters this year, like we saw seemingly all year last year. And we've seen almost every PGA Tour event on the schedule so far this season. So it's something the players will be used to at this point. But it is great news that it's handling the water well to this point.
Yep, absolutely handling the water. It is, of course, still playing longer, Patrick, and length, I think, is the one thing that's going to show up on the scorecard. And I was taking my notes. This course is not there's no tricks. There's no tricks at all. It's entirely in front of you. It is not quirky. It is a test of execution, and it is just going to ask you to hit great shot after great shot after great shot.
Rick, you sound like you were handling some press conferences today out there. You sound like a Max Homa or a Justin. Yeah, Justin Thomas said something similar as well, where It seems like this golf course is going to ask you to pound driver a lot, long and straight, preferably, and you're going to have to hit a 5 to 8 iron a lot. That was, I believe, Justin Thomas, and you're going to have to do that over and over again. And then you throw in the thick rough as well, the rain conditions, which will only help the longer players, you would think. And it kind of, honestly, I feel like we could get a pretty similar leaderboard to last year at Oak Hill. It seems like that was a course that experienced its fair share of rain on Saturday, that really wet round where Brooks Koepka kind of separated himself a little bit. And so, yeah, it's a good test. It's kind of what the PGA Championship has turned into over the last few years.
Greg, I was looking at my notes here and thinking back, that graduated rough, it's going to be this kind of the story here. So you basically get fairway, you get like a yard of the freaking first cut golly, then you get like 5 yards of thick rough, and then you get hay, right? So that's what you're basically getting 7 yards to the hay. The lies in the rough are kind of random. Some are obviously better than others. None of them are particularly great, but that's the margin we're working with.
So what I've heard from the general manager at Valhalla, he was on Sirius XM this morning, and he talked about how the rough is significantly thicker in May versus August, which I think will be very interesting to see how that plays out, especially with the water. And you might see 4 to 4.5 inch rough come the weekend. We'll see when they decide to cut it last. The hay is also very interesting. And it makes total sense in theory, but what is that hay going to look like when there's the reported, near 200,000 people out on the golf course throughout this week? They're not walking around in the freaking first cut golly, right? The patrons, the people, the fans,
they better not
walking
be
around in the hay.
Company man.
It ends up getting trampled down. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out, but hopefully, the guys aren't spending too much time in the hay. But if you do, in some spots, I'm sure it'll be brutal. And in other spots, I'm sure guys will get great breaks.
Freaking first cut. Golly.
It's just the best. Let's talk names here because there are so many to get through. We're going to just start with the big three, Patrick. No surprises here. How about Scottie Scheffler? Brand new dad, winner of his last 2, 4 of his last 5, refuses to finish outside the top, 10, 15, 17, something in that realm. And is Scottie as a daddy, as a daddy now, is he still unstoppable?
Daddy Scheffler?
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to go dummy this week? Yeah, I think if there's ever a week to get Scottie Scheffler, you would think it is. But, he's just so much better than the rest of the world at the moment. I think the Rory McIlroy run that he's gone on over this last month, Greg and I were talking about this on HQ, where it might have muddied the perception for some people. But, Rick, you go back since the beginning of February, the gap between Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, and true strokes gained, which takes into account field strength, is the same between Rory McIlroy and Luke List. That's how good Scottie Scheffler has been, and I don't think everyone has forgotten about it. I hope the majority and everyone has remembered it, but I think just the absence of him not playing in a signature event like Quail Hollow, I think can probably let people forget just a little bit, but he's so good. And then you throw in, I guess, the extracurriculars or the question marks that aren't around his game, but everything else, right? The new dad, does he have the nappy factor or he's a little tired? He said he played plenty while he was away from the PGA Tour up until kind of last week to hang out with the kid. You have Teddy Scott not caddying on Saturday. He won't be there for round 3. He's going home to attend his son's high school graduation. He's got the tour chaplain on the bag, Brad Payne. So does that play any sort of factor? Ted Scott will be back Sunday. And then Greg brought this up in the DFS show. Scottie Scheffler missed the cut at the 2022 PGA Championship as well, following his Masters win. So if you want an angle, if you want to play the narratives, you could probably find a path in. But yes, he's still dominant.
He also won the RBC Heritage after his Masters win this time around.
Okay.
Which does feel a hair.
I'm just giving all the we're giving all the information out to people.
Greg, you essentially gave Scottie Scheffler a second leg of the Triple Crown, or of the. I'm in Kentucky. I'm thinking horses of the Grand Slam on Sunday night. Would you like to change your mind, or are you continuing to roll with this?
No, I'm continuing to roll with this. I mean, think about what everybody said about this golf course. It's driver heavy. Okay, well, Scottie's long enough and more accurate than anybody else near the top of the game. So he's going to be able to hit driver and play from the fairway. What's the next shot look like? A lot of 7 to 5 irons? Oh, okay. Well, who's the best at that? Well, Scottie Scheffler. And who's the best at doing it over and over again? Oh, well, Scottie Scheffler. There's no one who has been as solid, as consistent, as steady in their execution as Scottie Scheffler. And like that includes Tiger Woods. You know, I mean, Tiger had to he had to go dummy with the short game and putting a lot more often than Scottie Scheffler does. So yeah, I'm not changing my mind.
Okay, well, Scottie's coming in with a 2 consecutive tournament winning streak, and so is one Rory McIlroy. Zurich Classic, Wells Fargo Championship, the latter in dominant fashion, Patrick, lapping Xander Schauffele on Sunday and turning him into mincemeat, I believe is the word that we described it. And now he returns to the scene of his 2014 PGA Championship, Rory McIlroy at Valhalla.
Yeah, stuffed him in a locker, I think is another good way to put it as well. Seems to have everything going his way. Obviously, there's some TMZ news if you want to get into the tabloids. I don't know if we do, with the announcement that him and his wife will be splitting. Everyone on the internet, they got all the parallels going with him and his old girlfriend, Caroline Wozniacki, who I believe is with our colleague now, JJ Watt.
That's true.
I think so. You know, JJ, we hang out at the company happy hours all the time. And then you bring in the 2 wins. It'd be his 3rd win in a row. The PGA Championship was his 3rd win in a row back in 2014. The driver's an absolute weapon at the moment. The iron play seems to have taken a nice step. And yeah, I mean, Rory McIlroy, I think the one criticism you could say throughout his career was in his late 20s up until his early 30s, he didn't get himself in the mix enough in major championships, but he's really fixed that over these last 2 years, I would say. It seems like every major championship he has a chance to win, and I would be shocked if he doesn't have a chance over the weekend.
Caroline Wozniacki and JJ Watt have not been together since 2015, and Caroline Wozniacki has been married to David Lee since 2019. So Patrick is really doing a great job here, just spreading whatever comes into his little brain.
Dang. Maybe that wasn't JJ Watt at the company happy hour then. Maybe it was someone else.
Yeah, maybe it was somebody else. Greg, I'll try to get us back on track here. You know, Rory is listen, the things that you said about Scottie and how there is ways to separate yourself from the field at Valhalla are, many of them are true for Rory, maybe not all of them.
Yes. Well, he's not as accurate off the tee, although he's been very accurate this season on the PGA Tour, which is a good sign. Like last week, he had 50% of his fairways, 51%. But at the same time, you're taking it over the corners of dog legs. Once you get it past the bunkers, it opens up, and it doesn't matter if you're in the rough. It'll matter this week. I think Rory will be able to find fairways. You know, it wasn't errant tee shots that were missing the fairways. It was more of angles and things like that. The other thing is, a big knock on him has been the wedge play. And this golf course at 7,600 yards, par 71, doesn't really ask you to hit a whole lot of wedges. You know, on the par 5s, he's going to get up around the green in 2 inside of the problem area for Rory. And on the par 4s, he's going to be outside of the problem area. I think that bodes really well for him. The other thing that really struck me at Quail Hollow was his short game. His short game looked as reliable as I've seen in a long time. There were times when he would miss a green, and I found myself feeling like I knew he was going to get up and down, and he did. And he left himself a lot of stress-free pars that way. That's also a very good sign, even though with all the rough around the greens here, it will be a very different test. I still think his touch is in a great place. And lastly, on the divorce, the tabloids, divorces don't seem to happen overnight. So I don't think anything that you saw at Wells Fargo that maybe swayed your opinion one way or another, I don't think this news should play any factor at all. Because like I said, this is probably not news to Rory.
Right. That's exactly right. The third man of that three-headed monster is one Brooks Koepka, who is also riding a winning streak of his own, except this winning streak is just one. He won Live Golf Singapore, but Patrick, he's gone back-to-back at this event before. He has this ability to turn major championships into runaway victories. Brooksy is feeling it again.
Yeah, I think Max Homa or Justin Thomas, one of them, kind of touched on it, where they don't believe there's as much strategy in a PGA championship. It is who's the guy who's the best driver and the best like mid to long iron player. And Max Homa was like, oh yeah, that's kind of like Brooks Koepka pretty much. And he's like, so I guess it makes kind of sense that he's won 3 of these. And if the setup's similar to Oak Hill, where he was great those final 3 rounds, he kind of stumbled out the gate, but was unbelievable the final 54 holes. And you bring in his defense before not only the PGA Championship, but also the US Open as well. And just his affinity for this championship in particular, coming off the win, you have to feel pretty good about him. There's probably some question marks, I would say, still, maybe around that putter. I don't know if you want to say 6 rounds were enough to make you feel very good about that putter after struggling for those first 3 or 4 months of the season. So if you want to poke a hole in Brooks Koepka, it's probably that. But Brooks Koepka has a way of making people look very dumb come major championship weeks. And if you doubt him, he tends to make you pay.
So much so, the struggles with the putter, Greg, that he has, tinkered with different flat sticks, and he's seemingly made a switch to kind of a more mallet style Scottie Cameron, as opposed to the blade that we've normally seen him with for so many years.
It's an interesting caveat. I will be very curious to see if it does play a role. I mean, like Patrick mentioned, it did get a little better for him in the last 2 tournaments after the Masters, specifically in Singapore. But I don't know if this is the real story with Brooks Koepka. It just feels to me like if Brooks tries, I feel like it's like high school pickup game. Well, who's trying and who's not? And if Brooks is trying, he has a really good chance of contending. And it feels like he realized after the Masters that he needed to put in a little more effort. And now he has. All of a sudden he wins. And now he goes to the major championship he's had the best success at. It's kind of incredible what he's done. I mean, I was looking at major winners since 1934, and there have been 17 title defenses since 1934 across all 4 majors. And only 2 people have done it more than once. Any guesses?
Jack Nicklaus.
Incorrect.
Tiger Woods.
Yes, Tiger did it 4 times.
And Brooks Koepka.
Wow.
And Brooks Koepka. Yeah. So Brooks did it at a PGA and a US Open. Tiger did it at the Masters in 2001 and 2002. He did it in 99 and 2000 at the PGA, and 06, 07 at the PGA. And he also did it in the Open in 05, 06. He did it 4 times.
Jesus.
Brooks could do it for a 3rd time. Nobody else has done it twice, which
That's
was kind of surprising to me.
All right, let's go rapid fire here, gentlemen. Patrick, I'm going to give you a handful of names. These guys need to figure out their major championship situation. Who is most likely to win this week out of this group? Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Max Homa, Tony Finau.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think I would go with. I really want to go with him, but I don't know if I can. I don't want to. I don't want a little recency bias in there. I think Xander Schauffele has the best chance to win out of those.
Sure.
I do. I know Max Homa's probably the right pick out of those. Cantlay's game's kind of up in the air. Tony Finau, where he be now? But I mean, I do kind of like the course fit for Tony Finau. Not really the game since Houston, but Xander Schauffele is so good, and he gets himself in the mix in tournaments, like Greg said on Sunday, time and time again. And when you do that, you're eventually going to run into a tournament win. It's just math. You're going, it's going to bounce your way eventually. Now, am I confident after he threw up all over himself on the back nine at Quail Hollow, which I think got somewhat underreported almost because Rory was so good, but he shriveled up during the very beginning of that front nine on 11 and 12 and 13. Does that exude confidence? Absolutely not. But he is so good for those first 54 holes, whatever it may be, that maybe he will have a chance to win. And his 8 straight top 20s in majors as well. You know he's going to be there. I know Max is coming off that podium in the top 10 at the Open. And maybe this is him on the up and up forever in major championships. But I'll give the slight edge to Xander.
Okay. Well, slight edge to Xander it is. We're going to continue this conversation. We are going to run through the best bets. And yes, we're going to release the one and done selections. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
You know what time it is.
The schedule is released. Bring it!
The anticipation is through the roof.
This is a heavyweight matchup.
Let's go! Are you ready to take?
And we're back. Okay, Greg, you get the other group of names. Who of these live golfers, which I think we should be calling them livers, is most likely to win this week? Your group is Bryson DeChambeau, Joaquin Niemann, Taylor Gooch, Patrick Reed, or Dustin Johnson.
That would be Bryson DeChambeau for me.
That was quick.
Yes. Look, looking at the low live situation, which has big implications in majors and one and done, it's something that you have to pay attention to come major championships. And Bryson's game has been very good. You look at what he did at Augusta National, and it was very impressive off the tee. I think he can replicate that again here. The one asset that he has is the greens are not going to be as unbelievably fast as they were at the Masters. I think he'll have a much easier time with the short game. You think about a winged foot. That has a lot of rough around those greens. That's what we have here at Valhalla as well. And the pace on the greens should be a really big help for Bryson. And I don't think he will be a 3-putt in, the last 4 out of the last 5 holes coming in after any given round, like he did at Augusta National. And if he avoids that at the Masters, he becomes a problem heading into Sunday. And the greens totally got him. I don't see that happening here at Valhalla.
I'm going to ask you both the same question. Patrick, who are we forgetting about?
Who are we forgetting about? That's a good question, Rick. That's why you asked it. We are forgetting about the hometown hero, the man with the key to the city, maybe Justin Thomas.
Okay.
We are forgetting about...
Wait. You don't get to pick multiple.
We're forgetting about who Greg is about to say.
Yeah, now Greg gets to go.
We are forgetting about Wyndham Clark.
Oh my God. You guys are both wrong about who we're forgetting about.
I did forget about him. Oh, we were forgetting about Victor Hovland.
No, you got...
I know who you're thinking about.
Oh, yeah.
Jon
okay,
Rahm.
I know
Jon
who you're saying.
Rahm, who's like maybe the best player in the world, maybe the 3rd best player in the world, maybe like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. PGA Tour member Jon Rahm. How could you forget? Of course. How could we forget? Shame on us. That's really bad.
No, I wasn't trolling. The chat thought I was trolling, and I was going to say Gooch. I saw Taylor Gooch walking with, he was outside the ropes with his smash hat on today.
Upside down letters?
And no one bothered him, and I don't think anybody knew who it was.
Dang, I was hoping for the opposite, honestly.
No, it wasn't.
Damn.
No, it truly was not. Jon Rahm, Greg, doesn't he just win this thing? What?
No.
Give me the reason. Oh, okay. Give me the reason. Like, what's the case against Jon Rahm?
Well, the case against Jon Rahm is you're not sure where his headspace is, and I still
that was the case before, wasn't it?
It's different.
Okay,
it's different. I'm not talking about the volatility in his head. I'm not talking about his emotions on the golf course. I'm talking about how comfortable is he in the decision that he made. And I think there's a lot of evidence in things that he said and rumors that I've heard that he's not necessarily comfortable with the direction that he's gone. That could be very wrong. But what he faces in press conferences now is totally different than it used to be. And I think that means a lot to Jon Rahm. I get the sense that his appearance is and the way that he's perceived and, the historical connotations of his name to Seve's is very important to him. And I feel like in his mind, he's sacrificed some of those things. So I listen to him and he feels like a different guy to me. That being said, there are a lot of cases for Jon Rahm, which I'm sure we're going to outline. But other than that, Rick, I mean, we got one real look at Jon Rahm's game this year. One real look. And it was a very disappointing performance at the Masters. Perhaps you make the same case I just made for Bryson, where that's an issue with the greens, and his driving ability could perhaps come to fruition this week.
I think Rahm is at least one of the most interesting names, right? Just because of the ceiling that he has, and I truly don't know where he's going to finish, but I'm going to be laser focused in on what he's up to. Patrick, you mentioned another one. You mentioned Justin Thomas. That was the first name that came to your mind. Justin Thomas, the Louisville kid, keys to the city. Does he have a chance? Does he have a chance here?
I mean, he is twice a winner, obviously, of this championship. It means a lot to him, given his father. It's going to be that much more. Jordan Spieth was talking about how the support that he was getting during practice rounds was pretty incredible, and you can only imagine that increases as the week progresses. He's kind of we talk about how Scottie Scheffler doesn't read into anything. He's very good about blocking out the noise. He doesn't read anyone's opinion. I have the sense that Justin Thomas is kind of quite the opposite, and I think it could kind of get to him. Maybe not early, but if he gets into the outskirts of the mix, maybe. So he's shown enough recently, I think, where he could have a good week, but golf courses that are penal off the tee tend to not favor Justin Thomas's skill sets. So maybe an outside chance.
The tee times have been released. The honor of hitting the first tee shot off of number 1 goes to Patrick. Do you know the answer?
The Miracle in May from 2023. PGA professional Michael Block.
That's right. Michael Block in the first tee time off of number 1. Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose are playing together. Victor Hovland, Hideki Matsuyama, Cameron Smith are playing together. Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth, Max Homa. That is like left, center, and right on that group. We've got that covered. Bryson, Akshay, and Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy and Akshay together probably weigh what Bryson does. I'm trying to see what else we have here. Are any of these getting you all fired up, Greg? Those are mostly the morning ones. The afternoon, Mickelson, Morikawa, Fitzpatrick, Rahm, Young, Fowler.
Yep, very interesting one as well. You also have Scottie Scheffler in the afternoon.
Yeah, Scottie Harmon, and Wyndham Clark.
That is one I have circled. Like I said, Wyndham Clark's one of the guys I think is forgotten in this thing. He was not forgotten last week, didn't play very well. I think he's kind of been forgotten, but his game is very good, and it seems like it should be built for a test like this. So I'm very interested in Wyndham. I also believe, Rick, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. I think that late early could turn out to be a pretty big wave advantage.
Oh, interesting. You know what? I have not checked recently. Do you think that because of the way the weather's laying out?
Yes. I mean, Thursday seems to be calm throughout the day. I checked this a couple hours ago, most recently.
I remember Thursday looking pretty good.
Yeah, very calm, like under 10 mile an hour gusts all day, very little wind. And then Friday morning, much of the same. And then around 2:00 Friday afternoon, it doesn't necessarily get windy, but it gets gusty and rain starts coming into the picture, and it gets a lot more complicated on Friday afternoon. So those late early guys, I believe, are going to have the advantage unless that changes. And even if the fourth quarter guys, as I call them, the early late guys have to play into Saturday, there's still a little bit more difficulty on Saturday as well. So that's why I think that Wyndham and Scottie group, that's your marquee, big time heavy hitters in the good side of the wave. That's the group that I'm watching very closely.
Interesting. Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. I also like that we have bets to get to. I also like that we have one and done to get to. And that is exactly what we're going to do after a quick word from our partners.
PGA Championship on the Range tees off Thursday on CBS Sports Network.
And we're back. This Best Bets segment is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. And an iPhone was left in the men's restroom is what that announcement was.
Oh.
So if you're missing an iPhone and you left it in the restroom, come up to the front desk. All right. If you have never seen us do the best bets before, here's what we do. Josh gives us $100 to go over to FanDuel Sportsbook, find 50 for a matchup that we like, 30 for our favorite finishing position, then 10 each on two separate outrights. He puts them all into a grid, and he releases that grid right now. Yes, good timing, Josh. So let's start with our matchups here, and I like the depth in which Greg has gone, so we will start with him.
Okay, I got Steven Yeager plus 105 over top 10 player in the world, Russell Henley. I think Russell Henley is a great player. I really like his game, but Steven Yeager has completely changed his career by adding so much clubhead speed. And all of a sudden, these big golf courses seem to favor him. He's been so steady. He's been so consistent. I love what he's done with the driver. I think he could be a huge asset here.
That is Steven Yeager plus 105 over Russell Henley. I went with Jon Rahm as a pretty big dog, plus 130 over Xander Schauffele. I'm just banking on Rahm being that guy. And he's been good enough at LIV for me. He's got, I think, all top 8 finishes. And I think, honestly, he probably wins 3 times if they play 72 holes because he's been charging every single time. Give him 72 on a golf course that asks for execution, execution, execution. And I'm going to take my chances and get Jon Rahm at plus 130. Patrick, you are picking on one of your own kind.
How dare you both go after my 2 favorite golfers?
Sure.
I guess we'll get to that later. I'm going with Tommy Fleetwood, even money over Patrick Cantlay. Cantlay's form pretty middling. I think the biggest threat here is the potential for a Sunday like 67 for Cantlay to finish T12. Which could happen, but Tommy's been playing really good golf throughout the bag, coming off a nice finish there at Quail Hollow. Very quiet T3 at the Masters, so much so I forgot about it when we did our Masters recap show. And so I will go with Tommy. Even if it gets ugly, I like him even more over Cantlay at even money.
Tommy
Fleetwood.
Finishing position. Greg, I'm going to use this as a segue to you, but I saw Will Zalatoris at plus 130 to finish inside the top 30. And I said, what you said. I said to myself what you said to me last week. If it's a major or close to it, you play Will Zalatoris. I'm just going to try to Men in Black wipe last week from my brain and just go back to baseline here and take Will Zalatoris at plus 130 to finish on the first 3 pages.
It's probably the right play. Since I said that last week, it was not a major. He shot what, 80?
I think he shot like 78, 80 or something.
You forgot about it. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's the right play. And I love that play.
What'd you get?
I got Ben on top 20 plus 200. The guy has been striking the ball like an absolute machine. And now all of a sudden he leads the field in strokes gained putting at the Wells Fargo. He gained 3 strokes putting the week before that at the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson. I love where his game is. I think a top 20 is very much in play, and I love the number at plus 200.
Plus 200 for Benny on to finish inside the top 20. And Patrick, look at you getting very creative at a major championship. You have taken a single golfer to finish inside the top 20 for simply the first round. So who do you think is going to get off to a hot start here?
Yeah, I'm running my best play on first down here right after the kickoff. Scottie Scheffler, top 20 after round 1, plus 110. Maybe kind of a dumb brain move. I just saw the plus money next to his name. I saw the top 20 and I was like, okay, let's absolutely do that. I know it wasn't a fast start at Harbortown. I know there's 156 players in the field, but you take out the pros, you take out the schmucks, you take out the old guys, and it's, down to 80-ish probably. And I think Scottie Scheffler can finish inside the top 20 of that.
The old guys, the schmucks, the pros, get them all out of here so that Scottie can come and get into the first page of the leaderboard. Okay, interesting. Well, we've got 2 separate outrights each, and I'm looking. Those look like 6 unique selections from plus 450 to 4,500. How about we do it this way? Greg, reveal your first outright.
I have many times for many weeks.
Yes.
Scottie Scheffler plus 450. I'm not saying anymore.
Okay, I'll release mine. Rory McIlroy plus 750. I think it's time. And I've said that. I have probably said that 40 times since the last time it was actually time. But I feel like it is truly time. Listen, the divorce thing, I don't know. It's just like the baby thing, right? It's just like a million different variables. What Greg said is probably very, very accurate. Like, it was not a surprise on Monday that Rory filed for divorce. Okay. So whatever has happened on the golf course leading up to this, I think continues. So give me Roars at plus 750. Patrick, your first outright and your shortest outright is 28 to 1. Tell us, please.
Captain of the defending champions, Crusher GC.
That's my Crushers GC.
That is your team. I'm going with I might get some heat from my team, the Ripper GC, for my pick, but I'm going with Bryson DeChambeau. Great course fit, 3 top 10s in his last 6 major championships, all 3 different majors as well. I think it's time for him to get number 2.
All right, now we'll reveal the second outright. And Greg, we're going to bounce this right back to you.
Yes, and like Patrick, I'm going in the live direction. This is Brooks Koepka at 14 to 1. I feel like that's a little too long for a guy that can just simply flip the switch when he wants to. So yeah, I'm going with the heavy hit. This feels like a heavy hitters golf course. I'm going all heavy hitters on my betting card.
Scottie Scheffler, Brooks Koepka, 450 and 1,400 for Greg. I'm going Rory McIlroy, and I'm going Wyndham Clark, 45 to 1. He's got that high upside. He's got that low floor. I don't care. This is a good setup for him. He wins big time events. Let's go Wyndham. And Patrick, you are pairing who with Bryson DeChambeau?
Wyndham Clark. What is it? Floor to ceiling windows. That's what you can call them. I'm going with Torquay captain. We got the Crusher captain. We got the Smash captain. And now we got the Torquay captain. Joaquin, the Dream, Niemann, 40 to 1. Super long off the tee. Super sneaky long off the tee. Still playing great golf. So I'm going to go with him. Pains me I didn't go with my Ripper man, but I will in a month's time for Pinehurst number 2.
Rory, Wyndham, Bryson, Joaquin, Scottie, Brooks, only first names required for those 6. So that is who we are taking. I did also, gentlemen, I did put a bet on Keegan Bradley at 175 to 1 because he was the first golfer that I saw when I arrived in Louisville, and it happened very quickly. I was still in the car. I was pulling into the hotel. I was still in the car. Keegan Bradley was standing on the corner wearing his Boston Red Sox cap. I hadn't even put the car in park yet, and he wins.
Well, is that a tradition?
That's a tradition. The first guy you see, whether it is at the golf course, whether it is at Whole Foods, whether it's at the hotel, you bet the first guy.
I like it.
I love sign of God bets. I remember at Phoenix, I saw a Canadian flag, and I was like, oh, that is Adam Hadwin. Turned out it was Nick Taylor, actually. So there's something to him.
You have to see the sign, but also read the sign correctly
and
Yes,
act on it.
Alex Noren was number 2.
Oh, your guy.
I know. I would have loved that. We got the elevator together right after that, and I was like, I wish I didn't see Keegan.
Did you say anything to him?
No, I don't talk to him. I don't talk to him.
Can I
have your
Noren?
Boston Common Keegan Bradley? Is that you?
It feels.
Will you
like,
sign
I
my
don't know
samurai
what to say.
sword?
Yeah, just like I don't talk to them. Okay, Josh gives us an extra $50, and this is where we put out our best bets. I am following in the footsteps of some of my friends here on the show, and I'm backing Brooks in this scenario. I'm doing it as a top 10 at plus 160. Greg, you have been engaging on the Twitter machine about this wager right here. It is basically called the big guns versus the field. And
Yes.
It's Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Brooks Koepka, or the field. What side have you taken?
I have taken the big guns. Think about what Max Homa said about this, the strategy of what a PGA championship is now. It's an execution battle, and I don't think there's anybody better than these 3 in that regard. I think one of them wins, so I got them over the field.
The odds are plus 160 on that. Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, or Brooks Koepka have to win. That is how that works. And Patrick, our faithful leader, 32% into the black. Okay, now there was a time on the golf course today where I was a little bit struggling with my swing, and I said, Rick, let's get back to basics. And I started flushing everything. Patrick, you have said to yourself, let's get back to basics.
We're back. The baby moon is over. We're getting back to work. We got to put food on the table. Got to buy some diapers. Scottie Scheffler to win the PGA Championship at 4.5 to 1. Thank God he's back to playing golf. I will say I had a secondary bet in place, but they took it off the board. It was Alejandro Tosti minus 225 over Michael Block. I was about to ask for in advance from producer Josh, but unfortunately they took it off the board. Cannot believe that.
Wow. Well, they probably knew that you were lurking. They saw your
I bet it.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah.
So once that bet came in, they said take it off the board. It came in from Patrick's account. This is too sharp.
Sharp money.
He's going to make this go viral.
Patrick Sharp money.
That's what we call him. That's what we call them around here. I know that. And that best bet segment was brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Gentlemen. Just one more thing to do. And it's arguably the most important thing. It's to reveal the one and done selections. And they are not unique. A lot of live. First of all, every selection is a live golfer. That's the era of one and done that we are in. 4 of the 6 selections are the same golfer. I will tell you. So let's see here. Greg and Patrick have the same golfer. Kyle and Josh have also chosen that golfer. And because Greg is in the lead, I believe he gets to reveal who that pick is for everyone.
The defending champion of the PGA Championship, Brooks Koepka.
I'm sorry, Patrick. I lumped you into a group. How
dare
you
you
should be lumped into. I'm sorry.
Mm.
So Brooks Koepka for Greg, for Mark, for Josh, for Kyle. So that means, Patrick, that you and I have a chance to lone wolf it. And who have you selected?
Yeah, I read this field like a book. Let me tell you, I'm just slicing and dicing this zone coverage. You knew Brooks Koepka was going to be popular, so we went with Bryson DeChambeau instead. This is his time. I'll use Brooks maybe at the Open, perhaps, maybe at the U.S. Open. I don't know. But this PGA Championship is for Bryson DeChambeau.
For me, I read this field like a book. I knew Brooks was going to be popular. I zigged. I zagged. I can't remember what else he said. But I'm playing zone coverage. I got it all figured out. I'm going with Jon Rahm. I think I made that pretty clear a little bit earlier. I just think he is the forgotten man. And yes, I will use Brooks Koepka at the U.S. Open after half the field has already used him. So those are the picks. Greg with Brooks Koepka, 10.7 million, our new leader. Mark at 8.2 million, Brooks Koepka. Patrick is going with Bryson DeChambeau at 7.4. Josh is going with Brooks Koepka at 7.2. I've gone with Jon Rahm at 7.0. And Kyle went with Brooks Koepka at $3.1 million. Somebody sent me a note and said, yes, it's technically true that Kyle is in like 566th or something, but he's essentially in last because everyone besides him has stopped making picks down there. Someone sent me that message. I was like, all right.
Oh no.
Maybe.
Should we name the new leaderboard? I feel like there's a big change with Rory. Give them their
there was a big
5 minutes
change.
of fame.
I looked at this and I was ahead of Big Boy.
Yeah, I saw that as well. And Luke in the chat, he said his girlfriend's in third place.
Oh, Kirsten. Kirsten's in third. Kirsten's at 12.4 million. Yeah, okay. Worm Burners, congratulations, has currently taken the lead and opened it up to $700,000 with 13.2 million. Rev Razzle Dazzle is at 12.5. Kirsten, shout out to Kirsten. That's Jake's girlfriend. Is in at 12.4 million for 7 million. Death to Egos, 12.44 million. And Red Zoopkis is at 12.2. Also, it's Luke's girlfriend, not Jake's girlfriend. Sorry.
Yeah, hopefully only Luke's.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
I might have just spoiled something for Luke.
Yeah, Rick, what do you know that some of the other guys might not know?
That's right. I just spilled Kirsten's little secret to Luke over here. About Jake, she has to be worried about. Gentlemen, any final thoughts?
Who do you got? Rick, I know you're obviously biased. Do we have a low Corebridge Financial player that we want to pick? I know we did the fantasy teams last year. And anyone off the top of your head? Rick, you want to tell people who you're rolling with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to roll with Wyatt. We had a practice round today, although we did play with his last name is James. His first name starts with a J. I believe it is Jared.
Jabron James.
So bad at names. He was flushing it pretty good. And he's a pretty long hitter, and I liked his demeanor. I would not be surprised if he had a successful week. He was pretty strong.
Jared Jones?
Jared Jones. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I think my original pick was Evan Bowser, but the height weight is kind of throwing me off a little bit. So I'm going to zig to Larkin Gross out of Westfield Country Club in Vienna, Virginia. I've played it a bunch. Fantastic club. Recently redone, probably like 5 or 6 years ago. Young kid, 23. So I'm going to go with youth.
I think I'm going to go with a little bit of experience. I think I'm going to go with Jesse Mueller.
I thought I was going to say Michael Block.
I did too. This guy who no one's ever heard of.
We played, our practice round was behind Michael Block, and it was like 15 people following him around with cameras and all. I mean, he is a superstar here.
I saw his picture. There's a huge picture of him on one of the grandstands, like maybe the range grandstand,
maybe everywhere.
It's like, this could be you.
Yeah.
Glory's last shot.
This hat,
Pretty cool.
James, this is from Louisville Golf Club this morning. Cardinal
Nice.
Club. Thank you very
That's a
much.
great hat.
Great hat. Great hat. So they had some good merch. I looked for Swing and Louie. I did not find Swing and Louie. I believe that is only for the actual golf team. So if anybody has a Swing and Louie hat, let me know. We have big plans for this week. Starting with tomorrow, Wednesday. That is when myself, Kyle Porter, Joe Musso, who are on site, will be doing a CBS Sports Network show at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's the big time, the big leagues. We will also have HQ, noon Eastern, I think 7 p.m. Eastern, and then we're going to do round-by-round recaps. This is going to be covered like, what is
White on rice.
Oh, wow. Like white on rice, we will cover this PGA Championship.
Greg, we've been hanging out too much, man.
Yeah, I guess so. It's really starting to seem that way.
And just a reminder to the chat, hashtag be nice to Joe.
Please be nice to Joe. Okay.
Please.
Joe is a really nice guy. He is a professional. He's so good at his job. Be nice to Joe. Okay.
And if you got one thing that you want to throw hate at him for, make sure it's his handicap and nothing else.
Correct. If you are going to
good point.
hate Joe, that's fine as long as it's about the handicap. Other than that, love him.
Yes, we love his personality. He's phenomenal at his job. He knows golf.
And I will say, so Joseph in the chat says, we are nice to Joe, or we were nice to Joe at the Masters. I agree. You were very nice to Joe at the Masters. Let's go for a streak. We're streaking now. We're going for 2 in a row. We're
Keep
building.
it
We're
up.
building.
We're going to go through the quad. We're streaking. You guys are all coming along with us.
All right. I think that's going to do it. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate producer Josh, who is in Louisville doing all the hard work behind the scenes. That right there is Patrick McDonald. You can find him at P McDonald CBS. That is Greg DuCharme. You can find him at The Real GFD, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.